shirts, of any of our brands. Just ask them if you have any questions you would need to. I want to welcome everyone that's present here, members of FinTech NGR, as well as members of PAPPS. For those of you who don't know the meaning of PAPPS, maybe should we do a quick quiz? What's the meaning of PAPPS? It's not Ogi, don't worry. What's the meaning of PAPPS? Who's going to help us? You can spy, don't worry, you can spy. Okay, PAPPS is Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. It's one of the big strategies of, several of Afreximbank, powered by the African culture. We want to have our own run by ourselves and not have our monies go to New York before it gets settled to Ghana, for instance. That was the example that I was given yesterday. And we are happy to be part of this great, milestone and the strategic direction for Africa. We are going straight into the conveners opening remarks. But while we gear up for that, I would have FinTech NGR and PAPPS, come up briefly to do that. While we do that, I want you to know that you are in safe hands here, and we are happy, to have all of you. So the first person I'll welcome would be the MD/CEO of PAPPS, who would be represented by Papa. Let's put our hands together, please.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, people online. My name is Papa Chongan. I'm the head of marketing and communication for PAPPS. It's my pleasure to having you today in this session. So before I start, I would like to say a big thank you to the Sisters Bank team for welcoming us here. It's a great pleasure for us because all of us are based in Egypt, in Cairo. So we are very happy about this collaboration with them to be able to accommodate us in this room and speak to you. On behalf of my CEO, he's sending his apology. Fortunately, he couldn't make it to Nigeria. However, he sent us 3 members of his team to speak to you today. Personally, I'm very happy to be here today. And even if yesterday we started with speaking with the commercial banks, even with the regulator, but I'm very happy to be here today with the FinTech. The reason is I personally also work in the past with FinTech, and apologies for the suit and tie. I would rather wear a jean or a t-shirt, but this is how it is, okay? But I'm very happy to have you here today because for us, the FinTech are very important. My colleagues will emphasize that, but let me start with this message. When we build PAPPS, we look at the market, all the players in the financial ecosystem, and one key player we know are the FinTechs. So from inception, when we built PAPPS, we designed PAPPS, the FinTech are also included. So I'm saying this because we heard a lot of message in many countries whereby where is the FinTech coming in? Where are the FinTechs in PAPPS? It's not just that we didn't really listen to your solicitation. It's just that at that time when we started, we were still working on the foundation of PAPPS. Today we are very comfortable to now come and speak to you. That's why we are here today. I won't be long. I just wanted to start with this key message that our CEOs wanted to also share with you. My colleagues, Osita, will deep dive into the presentation, shed more light on how the FinTech can now integrate and work with PAPPS. But please, just note that from the beginning, the FinTech were part of the process of the journey with PAPPS, and we hope that going forward, following this session, we should be able to collaborate. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a Friday and some of us are wearing, jackets. But I don't want you to take yourself so seriously. All right? So part of today, what we want to do today is when it's time for just moving around, get to know at least one person. All right? The big guys that are wearing very serious jackets, they are from PAPPS. But don't take them too seriously too. Walk up to them, Sita is a great guy. Walk up to him, what do you guys do? How can we come in? Because the reason we are here is to see how we can connect FinTech with PAPPS, correct? We don't want you to think that a PAPPS is a bank thing. We also want you to know that since fintech is driving Nigeria's economy, we want you to connect to PAPPS so that we can go faster than where the banks probably would have taken us to. We'll go in 2 years where the banks may likely have taken us to in 10 years. But that's on a lighter note. Pro fintech. Okay, the next person I would introduce to come give us a welcome, a convener's opening remark. I wanted him to catch a breath before I would invite him up here. He is our very own Mr. Patrick Akinwotan. Pardon my pronunciation. He is a member of the Board of Trustees for Fintech NGR. Let's put our hands together, ladies and gentlemen.
Bonjour à tous. Nous sommes. All right. Okay, morning to everyone. Pleasure to be here. Let me first thank my good friend John Obaro for being us here. I think we should give him a big round of applause. He's my colleague on this journey of making a positive difference in Africa. Serve as trustees on the board of Fintech Nigeria. I wear how many hats this morning? 4, 5. Yes, yesterday I know that PAPPS had a session with CIBN, but PAPPS for me has a personal connection. I've been privileged for the better part of 30 years to work across 35 countries in Africa. I have lived and experienced what the potential of Africa operating as one market could deliver and should deliver, and is on course to start delivering. I have been privileged to discuss on various occasions with the president of AFREXIM, my good brother, Professor Rama, and his unshakable confidence in the fortune of Africa as one market, operating as one continent, and leveraging on the foundations of the African Union to bring to bear the technology platform or a key infrastructure for facilitating payments and trade across Africa, which is what PAPPS represents. I'm aware that the MD of PAPPS is not here physically, Mike Ogbalu. Mike and I come a long way, but I know Sita is here, and he's doing a great job. I think we should welcome the PAPPS team once again. So, in simple terms, what's the uniqueness of PAPPS? We have fragmented payment platforms across the continent. No direct fault of the current practitioners. The regulatory walls that you face when you want to cross regulatory boundaries, either moving from West Africa into East Africa or Southern Africa or Northern Africa, has been the real reason why most payments that is cross-border somehow finds its way to either Paris or the US or City of London somehow, and settlements end up being made in one of the reserve currencies currently. But the settlement aspect can be dealt with by bankers easily. That's a question of liquidity and all that. But the practical process of instant fulfillment, I always use the example of if you live in Badagry, somewhere near Seme border, your chicken and your egg may actually be in Benin Republic, just by the front of your house and the back of your house. If you want to pay for feed or whatever from your colleague that you stay in the same neighborhood, you have to open your letter of credit to a confirmed by a bank somewhere in London or the US, and then advised to a bank in Paris, and then the bank in Paris will route to somebody in Cotonou. You will have finished eating the eggs or whatever since before that payment gets consummated. And for every correction you need to make, you have to go through the whole loop again. And remember, you will send the message in English, it will be delivered in French. And the other way around. And the process of doing all that means we're paying charges to parties outside Africa for transactions that are being done between or within Africa. That's the nutshell of what PAPPS seeks to eliminate. So maybe broadly speaking, you look at PAPPS as a major infrastructure that brings everybody together. Some people say aggregator, somebody says switch or switches. Whichever way you want to look at it as a big highway that is accommodative of everybody. Whether you're a fintech, whether you're a bank, whether you're a central bank, whether you're an importer, whether you're an exporter, whatever you need to do, there is need for a connecting point. Those connecting points have largely operated outside of Africa. And I have a personal experience. I used to work for EcoBank. And EcoBank operates in 35 countries in Africa. I was privileged to build the first Pan-African switch, or lead the building, which covers 33 countries today on the EcoBank network. It connects with a lot of other players, but PAPPS is the big umbrella. You have such also in North Africa. You have eServe or whichever switch in South Africa. You have Ken switch. You have. So we have a number of big switches. Which one provides umbrella for everybody across Africa? That's PAPPS. And when you look at the level of intra-Africa formal trade and payment versus the reality of the opportunity on our continent, we have no choice than support what PAPPS is about. PAPPS is for us in Africa. PAPPS creates a common playing field and also enables for SMEs in particular to come into the cross-border business. SMEs, we know that person-to-person has largely been operating like remittances, yes, but if you're an SME, I use the simple example, Nigeria has the best set of head gears globally. Africa will be strong if each time we want to make payments, we have to refer to another currency. Nigeria, as the leading economy in Africa, has a big reason to support PAPPS. So all of us here are going to be apostles of PAPPS. We will not only participate, but we'll carry the gospel of PAPPS into the market. So I'd like to stop here and welcome the PAPPS team to take us through. And as I look forward to exciting questions, discussions, it can only get better for us in Africa because technology helps us to leapfrog the infrastructure challenges that has plagued our continent. On this note, you are most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, right now we have serious company. We have about 100+ people online who are watching this event and joining us. So I would urge, the speakers and all those who would be coming up here to recognize those people. And then don't just speak as if we're just this audience, because we're a whole lot more. The next thing on our agenda is an address by our very own Osita Ugu. He's head of tech and operations for PAPPS. Let's put our hands together as he gives us a presentation.
I'm just going to present. Good morning, everyone. Yes, thank you for this opportunity, sir. When we get back to Cairo, we'll tell our MD that we met a man that knew PAPPS more than those of us in PAPPS. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that and the kind words. I think we start with a video, and after this video, I will do presentation. Sean will throw more light, then we'll go into Q&A. PAPPS, Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. Simple explanation. Here is what NIBS, I will use NIBS because that's where commercial banks are connected in Nigeria for interbank transfer. PAPPS will be like the NIBS for Africa. That's a simple definition in a place like Nigeria. But PAPPS is beyond that. PAPPS is a rail. PAPPS is a financial market infrastructure. And you will be hearing us mention PAPPS and mention Afrexim Bank. What's the relationship between the two? African Export-Import Bank, that is the organization that we work for. PAPPS is a division in Afrexim Bank that is responsible for payments. So it's a financial market infrastructure, meaning that it provides a rail, or you call it switch of switches. We are aware that there are different cross-border payment products in the market today. But you will agree with me that those products work in silos. They work in silos, and as you are going to see in one of the slides, some of them are regional efforts. Some of them that even look like, it cuts across 20 countries, 30 countries. You discover that they have limitations, either because of regulation or one thing or the other. And you will see where PAPPS comes in, partnership. Whenever we are discussing PAPPS, especially with the fintechs, you may hear things like, we have built something like that before. Yes, we have not built something different, but we have come with a leverage to partner with everyone seated here and see how we can take it far and solve the African problem. And so, PAPPS is here. And what we do, sorry, I think I'm struggling with the clicker. Yes, somebody help me. Okay. So I will first start with just to provide us with a picture of how payment is made today in Africa. Someone seated in Nigeria on the left-hand side, sending payment to Ghana. And you see that ABC Bank in Nigeria may have a correspondent bank in New York. Correspondent bank for ABC Bank may be Citibank. The XYZ bank in Ghana may have another correspondent bank, JP Morgan. So the issue today is that when you send payment from Nigeria, that payment will have to go through these cycles of correspondent banks. Sorry, please, you want to know where the echo is coming from? I don't. Okay, this payment will go to the correspondent bank of the sending bank, to the correspondent bank of the receiving bank, before it comes back to Africa. Now, the challenges with this, one, it is expensive to the sender, because the sender will have to pay for the services rendered by the correspondent banks. And if you have sent money with any of those cross-border payments, you will see switching charges here and there. Correspondent banking charges, CBC. You pay for those charges. Not only that, you lose visibility. Once you send the money, until the receiver receives the money, you cannot tell the exact location of the money. The third point is that the liquidity involved, both on the side of the sender and the side of the banks, then is inefficient in itself, because you can't send and receive immediately. So looking at these issues, the owners of those switches also have our data as Africans, and they sell them. And if you are in the market, you know that you can buy the data for some of those entities, some of those entities. Now, we are saying, can we come together as Africans and have all our banks open account in Afrexim Bank, which is PAPPS Bank, and any payment that is going from point A to point B will just be like a book movement in Afrexim Bank. a book movement from Bank A on the left and Bank B on the right. And that payment will go from the sender to the receiver instantly, and will reduce the cost of the corresponding banking relationship. That is just overall concept of PAPPS. And so if you find yourself, as I make this presentation, you have a product you have built and the rest of them, I want you to look at where you can plug that product to leverage that ability to send from location A to B without going through the corresponding banking relationships. Now, so I will explain the ownership of PAPPS so that you understand that PAPPS is our own. So it's not one of the initiatives that came from there. You will see the people that own PAPPS and how we can all leverage that ownership and governance of PAPPS. Now, who are the owners of PAPPS? It's an Afrexim bank division, but it has its own board. We have what we call PAPPS Governing Council, the PGC. Who are the people seated at the PGC? The central banks. So any country that signs up to PAPPS, the central bank governor becomes part of a member of the PGC immediately. Now, we have the the PSOC, Payment System Oversight Committee. Who are the people seated there? The directors of payment from different African central banks. Then we have the PAPPS Management Board, which are selected fintechs, selected individuals. You will know their names, and if you go online, you will see this information there. Those people are seated there because they are the people that give us, they guide us on the way to go. They guide our designs. Fintechs like you, they are all involved in this space. Then we have the PAPPS management team, which is where we sit, which is the lowest here. Now, the advantage of the first one as a PGC is that if a central bank governor is seated, they meet regularly. And before we release any product, before we release any initiative, first they will discuss it, they will review it, they will approve of it. And so if they approve of a particular initiative, and Kenya was part of it, it's like if I'm taking that product to Kenya, I don't need approval again, because their governor was part of the people that approved of this. So what does this, the leverage we have over these payment systems or cross-border efforts is the fact that if you bring your product and we plug it to PAPPS, we get the regulatory approvals, and you discover that riding on PAPPS, you don't need to go seeking for individual or central bank approvals, because from day one, they had already approved of it. That's the governing council of PAPPS. Who are the stakeholders? We call them participants. We have two categories of participants in PAPPS. We have the people we call the direct participants, and we have the people we call indirect participants. Being indirect does not make you less of a direct. Yes, it's just a name. Who are the direct participants? Central banks and commercial banks are the direct participants. The indirect participants are switches and the fintechs. They are indirect participants. Now, central banks, because they are if we get into a country, the first thing we do is that the central bank will sign up to PAPPS. We get the central bank integrated. Then we start integrating the commercial banks in that region. Now, if it is a country that has a national switch, the central bank is the one to take a decision to say, let all the entities in that country connect through the switch or not. We have countries that have switches, but they may not be national switches. And we will discuss that as we progress. So these are the participants in PAPPS, the stakeholders, two participants, direct and indirect participants. Now, I will go to settlement models before we go to the technical connectivity. Settlement models in PAPPS. Now, Number one problem in Africa is that we don't have a common currency. So how much of naira should I take to give equivalent in cedis becomes an issue. To address that problem, because our problem cannot be addressed overnight, so there will be stopgap at a period, then until we get to where we are going. So we can't say, oh, don't start a payment system until we have a single currency, which you know is not a one-day activity. So what we did was that we came up with two settlement models. The number one settlement model is what we call the central bank settlement model. In PAPPS, when you start integrating, you will hear us say something like SSA1, suspense settlement account 1. Anytime we say SSA1, we are referring to central bank settlement model. It is the central bank that settles in that model. Now, I will explain SSA1. In SSA1, central bank settlement model, every central bank that signs up to PAPPS opens account with Afrexim Bank and deposit a USD. And somebody will ask, why are we using USD? I will explain. The payment in PAPPS is local currency to local currency. The settlement for now between those central banks will be in USD, because that will be like a benchmark, how I can determine how much of naira that will go to cedis, how much of cedis that will go to Kenyan shillings. But we did something that you may not find in other cross-border payment systems. We are using what we call multilateral net settlement. Multilateral net settlement means today how payment is done is that if a given bank A in Nigeria, does a 2 million USD worth of outflow per day, that bank must lock down that 2 million USD in a given bank abroad as a settlement guarantee, because they settle in gross. So you must have the money. Now, how Afrexim and PAPPS will settle in SSA1 and SSA3 is that you bring in any amount you have. At the end of the day, all the payments in local currency that left Nigeria to Ghana and the equivalent local currency that left Ghana to Nigeria, all local currency that left Nigeria to Kenya and left Kenya to Nigeria, there will be a net. So if Bank A sent a total outflow of 10 million naira and 9 million came in at the end of the day in naira, they are settling only the difference, 10 minus 9. So only 1 million will be settled. It's called multilateral net settlement, and that was meant to reduce the liquidity requirement for settlement pending such a time when we have our own African for exchange, African rates that we so okay, with this rate we can determine naira and versus cedis or shillings, as in case may be, and that project is ongoing. So the dollar being used there for multilateral net settlement is transitional, and some of the products also that will be coming out in the course of the year, we're already working to even eliminate some of those dollar usage as a means of determining which currency should go for the other one. So in central bank settlement model, the central banks will deposit that money in Afrexim Bank and allow all the commercial banks in the country to transact. At the end of the day, if 1 billion naira left all the banks in Nigeria to Ghana and 900 million came in, it's only the 100 million that will be settled. If the direction of payment is the other way, if it is we had more inflow from Ghana into Nigeria that day. The differential, we will take it from BOG, which is the Central Bank of Ghana, and give it to CBN. If we had more inflow from Sierra Leone to Ghana, at the end of the day, we will take the differential from Ghana, which is BOG, we will take the differential and give BSL, which is the Bank of Sierra Leone, their central bank. So it's only the difference that each country or each bank settles. Now let's go to commercial bank settlement model, which is where you should really pay attention. And I mean, settlement shouldn't really be your issue, because it's not your business. It's a business. You are going to go into a business arrangement with the commercial banks. How they settle is not your business, but it's just need for you to just understand this. Now, so if we go to the commercial bank settlement, okay, let me also say that in central bank settlement, central banks will set rates, what we call the buying rate and the selling rate. Selling rate is the rate that will determine the outflow from a country. Buying rate will determine the rate of inflow into the country. Now, if we go to the commercial bank, it works the same way. The difference now is that instead of central bank setting rate for everybody in the country, or instead of central bank being the one to handle that settlement, each commercial bank will open account in Afrexim Bank and handle the settlement themselves. But in that case, the commercial bank will set the rate because they are the one managing the settlement. So we call that model SSA3. SSA3, not SSA2, as you are seeing here. SSA3. Now, while we have two models down there, which is where the 3 and 4 are representing, we are going to have a model called Afrexim settlement model, or a model called SSA4, where it's a commercial bank. We settled for other commercial banks in a given region. We have some countries in Africa where the central bank doesn't have the capacity to settle transactions, and the banks in those countries are not also sound enough to settle for themselves. So some of those countries will approach us to say, identify one of the commercial banks that has the capacity to settle for others. So we call that model SSA4. So but the last two models are going through approval by the central banks. The two models that are in play now are the SSA1 and the SSA3, which is the central bank model and the commercial bank settlement model. Then I need help. Okay, so I will go straight. The commercial bank settlement model, again, is not your business. The commercial banks already know what to do here. But this model also can allow commercial banks to set rates, handle the settlement themselves, be the one to enjoy the multilateral net settlement, meaning if there's a commercial bank A in Nigeria sending to a commercial bank B in Ghana, two of them will do the nets in. At the end of the day, our settlement happens at 11 GMT. Then settlement, of course, when you operate commercial bank settlement model, a commercial bank can also qualify for Afrexim overdraft facility, which is a money set aside to support PAPPS initiative, $3 billion, and the commercial bank could have access to that money. But that is not our business here. Now, what are the payments? Yesterday we had a program with the banks, and people were asking, is PAPPS only for trade? PAPPS is not only for trade. PAPPS does everything you can think of in a payment system. You can use PAPPS to send pocket money. You can use PAPPS to, it's an API based. So anywhere you expose PAPPS, you can use it to make payments. If you expose it to a mobile bank, banking, your mobile apps, you use it to send payments cross-border. Now, so when you are sending money to Ghana, for instance, how does PAPPS determine how much in Naira will be debited? Because one of the objectives again here is to avoid people going to the black market to buy dollars. So if I have 1 million Naira in my account and I want to send 500,000 Ghana cedis to someone in Ghana, once you initiate a payment and pick the country where you want that payment to go, I want the payment to go to Ghana, I supply the person's account number and bank. It will ask you how much do you want the person to receive. If I type that I want the person to receive 500,000 Ghana cedis, it will tell you the equivalent in Naira that will be debited from your Naira account. It will calculate that and tell you the equivalent in Naira that will be. So the objective is you don't need to go buying dollars to put in your DOM account and transfer. So it will calculate that, tell you the equivalent that will be debited from your Naira account, and if that is okay by you, you click send and the person will receive the money instantly. What this also helps us is that when we build Israel, some people here that attended one of our programs last year in Egypt, we know that one of the key issues we're trying to address in that program was payment. We had SMEs, over 5,000 SMEs came in, and somebody came from Tanzania, you came from Nigeria, and you saw an item that you like to buy, but you couldn't make payment. You understand? So we all have solutions that you can just have like a wallet and move things, or even QR code or anything, and make that. And we can only make that happen when we have collaboration with you. So you can use PAPPS for both low value payment, high value payment, trade payment, retail, remittance. A lot of companies are already using it for even paying staff salaries. We have seen that trend in places like Ghana, Sierra Leone, Gambia, where we have some companies in Ghana that have their staff in Sierra Leone, in Guinea, and in some of those countries. So at the end of the month, they will just send CDs to them, and the other people will receive in loans, receive in CFAT, depending on the location where you are. So you can use PAPPS for any of these type of payment. Technical integration. Now, under technical integration, I want you to look at this. And that is where we said we are here to partner. We are not here to compete. We are financial market infrastructure. We are not a cross-border payment product. Now, in Africa, we have silos of switches and payment schemes. Buna is the largest scheme and the only scheme in North Africa. And Buna, 19 countries are connected, Arab countries are connected to Buna, including Arab African countries and Arab non-African countries. It's not every Arab country that is an African country. Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco, and the rest of Sudan, they are all Arab countries, Africa. But Dubai, Qatar, and the rest of them are all Arab, non-African, but they're all on one switch. One switch. So integration is ongoing with them, which is, if we finish integration, you should be able to send also from your Naira to dirhams in Dubai, because we're integrated to their switch. And their switch, like when Emirates was struggling for, the story. So there should be, a platform where dirham could go to Naira and Naira could go to dirhams. Now, so Buna is a North African switch. We have PAPPS in the Southern Africa, comprised of many countries in South Africa. We have reps. If you go to the Kenya down to Rwanda and co, all of them are connected to Uganda. They are all connected to reps. Then you have a GIM, which in the Central Africa, and others. There are many switches. Then we have regional bodies like BIAC, Bissau, and the rest of them. COMESA, which is a settlement house in the Central Africa, with Cameroon as Central Bank and Mauritius as their clearing house. So we are working with people, and the objective is you have something that covers only your region. Ride on PAPPS so that you go beyond your region. Are you following? So that is the objective. So we sit in the middle and bring those switches together. And that's why we call it switch of switches or aggregator of aggregators. Anyone you choose to call it. Again, I need help again. Or just press next. Okay, technical connectivity. Now, under technical connectivity, our connectivity is through VPN. We establish a site-to-site VPN with any of the participants. Anybody that is connecting to us, we establish a site-to-site VPN. Of course, other technical stories there. But one key thing I want to bring out here is that we also have what we call exchange of digital certificates, so that every message coming from, of course, PAPPS is an ISO 222 messaging standard platform. So any message coming from me to you, you to me, is signed. Yes, so those are the features that are there just to guarantee that there is no problem sending transaction, maybe because of cyber attacks and co. Now, let me go to the integration model. When we are doing integration in a country, it is the settlement model in that country that will determine the architecture of the integration. What do I mean? I choose a country like Liberia. Liberia is running SSA1 as a country. Their central bank is settling for all the banks in Liberia. Now, every commercial bank is, and again, Liberia does not have a national switch. So every commercial bank in Liberia established a connectivity to PAPPS through a VPN. So we have a VPN to, there are 8 commercial banks in Liberia, at least 6 are live now, 2 are integrating. So each of them established a VPN to PAPPS. So when you establish that VPN, which is just like a 24-hour activity, then we expose PAPPS API for you to consume, and integration starts. Now, but after integration, how do you fund PAPPS? PAPPS is created in the RTGS of each country that is going to run on SSA1. If you are going to, as a country, you are going to run a central bank settlement model, you open a PAPPS account. We open a PAPPS account in that central bank, which is a local currency account. Now, why do we call participant direct and indirect participant? Any participant that plays on RTGS is a direct, can be a direct participant. I repeat again, any participant in a country that has an RTGS code can be a direct participant, because we can now, through the central bank, because we're already connected to the central bank is connected to us, we send an RMA, which is a word for relationship management authorization, just for us to know each other. And when a bank in that country funds PAPPS account in the central bank, we get notified. So the bank's account, what we call clearing account inside of PAPPS, will reflect immediately with that amount. So we have this model only for countries, 1, that doesn't have a national switch, and 2, the up there, the diagram up there where we have RTGS only comes to play if the country is running on SSA1. If the country is not running on SSA1, RTGS is not required. The second model, bank to switch integration. If we come to countries that have national switches, and I'm not saying I have switches. A country can have switches, but there's one that may be the national switch. Okay, so in places like Ghana, we have GIPS, Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement System. Nigeria, we have NIPS. So in those countries, if central bank tells us that every participant must go through the national switch, then we have to do that integration through the national switch. In Nigeria, for instance, sometime in 2022, we have had like 5 Nigerian banks that connected directly to us because NIPS wasn't integrated then. So immediately NIPS got integrated, and we got a directive that every bank must go through NIPS. So we rerouted those 5 banks through NIPS. So we have this structure in a place like Nigeria with NIPS, a place like Ghana with GIPS, Zimbabwe with ZIM switch, Rwanda with R switch, Kenya with IPSL. So this structure will apply in those countries. Now let's go to fintech integration. You cannot run fintech architecture using the central bank settlement model, because you can't use central bank money to settle fintech transaction. So a commercial bank will need to own its own money and run on a commercial bank settlement model to sponsor its fintech, and we are coming to that. But this is the structure for fintech integration in almost every country that have a national switch. This is applicable in Nigeria, is applicable in Ghana, like I said. Rwanda is applicable. And as you can see here, the fintech A is connected, or is already connected, or assumed to be connected to NIPS via a VPN. NIPS already is running PAPPS. And so NIPS will just expose PAPPS API at their own endpoint for you to consume, and from there you hit any African country that is already connected to PAPPS. This is the architecture, and as you can see in the middle there, where we have PAPPS IPS, PAPPS Instant Payment System, as you can see there, that is somewhere is yellow. I was thinking that this light should show you there, but you can see where you have PAPPS and IPS, that is PAPPS Instant Payment System. You can see that the bank has a clearing account because he has already opened account in Afrexim Bank. So once you open account in Afrexim Bank as a bank, you have it reflects inside of the IPS for you, which is the clearing account. Now, when we create a fintech, because even though, and I will explain as we go, a fintech is going to be, when we create a fintech, a unique ID is given to the fintech, PAPPS ID. A bank will have its own ID. So because you have your own unique ID, your transactions are uniquely identified in PAPPS. Now, your clearing account, fintech clearing account, that's where we have fintech CA on the board. Now, that fintech clearing account is attached to the commercial bank clearing account. And I'm going to explain that as we go down. Because every fintech in PAPPS must have a sponsorship bank. The bank must sponsor you. That's why it is called indirect participant. And we are not the one to dictate a bank for you. You choose a bank, take any bank of your choice. So if you choose a bank, which I will show you the procedures as we wrap up the slides, you will see the step by step what you need to do. But the bank you choose to be settling for you in PAPPS, we will recognize the bank's clearing account in PAPPS, and your clearing account will be a sub account to that bank's account. You will see that as we progress. And so in this place, you can see that the dedicated VPN is between us and a switch. That's PAPPS and switch. Certificate exchange, while the VPN is between fintech and switch, the certificate exchange will be between us, PAPPS and switch, and between switch and the fintech. And this architecture, but all your transactions are uniquely identified because you have a unique ID in PAPPS. Okay, the messaging, of course, is ISO 222, and I will not dwell on that, but we have what we call outbound payments. These are the messaging, send and process account inquiries, send participant status, send FX rate request, and other things. This one we discuss all this during integration. Yeah, for inbound, these are the messages, PAC 008 and the rest of them. We discuss that again during integration. Let's look at this. If you have a way of enlarging this, help me. Because this light is not showing on the screen, I needed to use this to point to what the different decision tables here and the flow. Yes. Okay. So just go with me. Sorry, so if you look at this place, this is a typical user journey in PAPPS. This is the message flow in PAPPS. Now, let's start with originator, that is on the left-hand side here. From the originator side, you will see you initiate a process, you create a process. Maybe from your mobile phone, you want to initiate a payment. So that payment goes to the bank, because even if you have a mobile, there is a bank that is sponsoring it there. It will go to the bank as PAPPS 008. Just permit me. Fortunately for those online, please, you will see it as we enlarge this, but I will show this here just for you to see how we are moving. I create a transaction here. It goes to the bank as a PAPPS 008, which is a credit instruction to the bank. What happens? The message goes to PAPPS and checks, does validation. The validation first to confirm that is normal message standard. The validation also to confirm, has it been intercepted? If there's a cyberman in the middle or wherever somebody has intercepted the traffic somewhere, the message will be voided here. And the message will be sent, will be sent to the sender, meaning that the message is rejected. But if the validation goes correctly, which is yes, it creates another transaction. It creates a new process here that checks to know, does the bank have sufficient funds? Does the bank have sufficient funds? Because PAPPS is a wallet base, it's pre-funded. So if you don't have sufficient funds, transaction cannot go to the other side. So the system checks, does the bank have sufficient funds? The answer is yes. If it is yes, then it generates a PAPPS 008 and send. But let me go when it is no. Let me go up when it is no. So if the bank does not have sufficient fund, the transaction is rejected, and a PAPPS 002 rejection is sent to the sender of the transaction. So that message will be rejected. But let's go to the scenario where the message is yes. Is there sufficient fund? The answer is yes. So the system will put a lien on the amount. Let's assume that the bank has 10 million and you want to send 1 million naira. So the system will put a lien on the 1 million naira. Then at that point, it generates another PAPPS 008, which is a payment instruction to the receiving bank. And you can see here the receiving bank will do another validation, because the message could be intercepted between PAPPS and the receiving bank, or between the sender bank and PAPPS. So there is validation at each point. The system validates again. Is this message okay? If the answer is no, it rejects the transaction immediately, send a PAPPS 002 rejection back, but releases that fund. You know, a lien has been put on an account. It releases the fund and rejects the transaction. But let's go when the message is yes. When the message is yes, the sender bank now generates a PAPPS 002, goes to PAPPS to validate if everything is okay, finalize the transaction, and if the transaction is finalized, another message is sent, PAPPS 002, and value is given to the customer. This is a typical user story, a workflow. Now, what if there is a timeout, network timeout, either between the sending bank, the sending entity in this case, PAPPS to PAPPS, or between PAPPS and the receiving entity? If there is a timeout, of course, this timeout error, the system cancels the entire transaction, because until both the sender and the receiver get an acknowledgement of PAPPS 002, the transaction will not succeed. So if a transaction even hits the receiver, but the sender did not get an acknowledgement, the transaction gets cancelled, it times out. So this is also meant to address any issue of you debited me and you didn't credit the receiver. If the sending bank or sending entity did not get an acknowledgement of PAPPS 002, then the transaction gets cancelled. Okay, so let's go to, of course, when you sign up, we are going to have, okay, let's go back to normal. Yeah, so when you sign up, we are going to go back and start, we will have a technical integration session. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, compliance, of course. We have more people, and I have just few slides to the end of this. Compliance, we of course, you can see the PAPPS is ISO 27001. And there are many certifications that have not been included here. But I want to point out here that PAPPS is not a platform there is already anti-money laundering factored in PAPPS. Sanction screening, PAPPS is connected to World Check, OFAC, and we expect every sending entity to know your customer, do a KYC. If you send a transaction for someone and that transaction violates the sanction list, PAPPS will stop it and cancel the transaction. So we expect every sending entity to know your customer. However, there could be false positives in such scenarios. When we stop the transaction, you need to send certain file to validate that, oh, this customer is a right customer, and the transaction goes. Now, footprints, as I wrap up. Footprints. We started integration with 6 African countries. We call the WAMZ region, West African Monetary Zone. And the 6 African countries, we have Nigeria, Ghana, and Liberia, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Gambia, that we started with these 6 countries. Then we are spreading to other African countries with banks already in Djibouti integrating, banks in Zimbabwe, Zambia, Kenya, Rwanda, Malawi, Tunisia. Yes, we have the likes of other countries like South Africa, Egypt. This list is not comprehensive now because we have more countries signing up on weekly basis. So, but the objective is to have at least 23 countries by the end of the year, and in the next 2 years to have all African countries sign up. So what this means is that all the countries you see here, we have technical integration going on there. Today we have like 60 banks live, about 60 are doing integration, and more are signing up. So these are some of the banks. The list is not comprehensive. Over 60 banks are doing integration, about 60 are already live. Procedures for participation in PAPPS, which is after all this long story. What can we do to participate? Now, 4 steps. 4 steps, very simple. Now, first we started by showing you that central banks sit in the governing council of PAPPS. And so it is just right to say that we don't do anything in any country without making sure that we have the clearance of the regulators to avoid when you launch out there, it comes back to you. The 1 and 2 there, as you can see highlighted in yellow, are the 2 most critical processes, really. One is sign an agreement with PAPPS. Sign agreement. What are the 2 agreements you need to sign as a fintech? As you can see there, fintech signs an indirect participant agreement with PAPPS. We will send the pack to you, and you will see the email after this where you can request, and we send the pack to you. Now, of course, that pack includes different things: the name of your company, your address, your resolution to participate in PAPPS, and a few other legal related documents which you can fill easily. That's number 1 thing. Then number 2 is letter of no objection from the central bank. Every commercial bank today in Nigeria, about 18 commercial banks are live. Others should be live in the course of the month. And those commercial banks, every one of them got a letter of no objection from CBN. There's a procedure we have already come up with the central bank. So even if you have access to central bank, once you said, if you send an email, if you decide to send directly to CBN to say, somebody share with me an indirect participant procedure for PAPPS, they will send that to you. Indirect participant, or call it technical integration form, procedure for CBN, they will, for PAPPS, they will send that to you. But if you also contact us, we can write the CBN and say this fintech wants to connect, share the list of requirements with them, and you will see the list of the requirements, which are something that most likely you already have. So, but the 1 and 2 can run concurrently. As you're signing the basic forms with PAPPS, you can be seeking the letter of no objection from the central bank. So, but once we have both of them cleared, we'll just, these 3 will run in parallel with 1. You don't do anything in 3. Based on the information you provide to us, PAPPS will run KYC to know who you are. And once we are done with that KYC, technical integration will just start. We'll just create you in PAPPS, start technical integration, and I can tell you, we also have integrators in different African regions, which is good that we are meeting with you here. Those areas also you can play, but those integrators also help us to integrate commercial banks and different entities. So, so if you have your technical, of course you are fintech, you have your technical resources to integrate. PAPPS integration, maximum within 3 weeks, we should be out of sight to integrate you. So you just take decisions of what are the channels that you want to expose PAPPS and the rest of them. But very important points here. When you sign the fintech agreement, which is number 1 there, you sign, fintech will sign sponsorship agreement with a bank of choice. You know, I said in the beginning that fintechs will be integrated to PAPPS, but you bring a bank of your choice. You already have a bank you're banking with. You bring that bank. We can have a call with you and the commercial bank in Nigeria, and 2 of you will sign a document that they want to sponsor you. That's all. So you can see 1 and 2 on the other side. You see, as you are signing indirect participant form with PAPPS, you're signing the agreement with a commercial bank to sponsor you. Then fintech will obtain letter of no objection, which I say the requirement to be shared, we can share with you. Or once you sign, we'll just write an email to CBN, the department that handles that. Then fintech passes PAPPS KYC. Once you supply us the major requirements that we are sending to you, you pass the KYC, what we call MANSA. We have a division called MANSA that handles KYC for Africa. Then once you have a MANSA ID, which we will give you, then we go into technical integration and go live. So this is just the process. Very simple, just the process. And we will guide you in each of these steps. I'll take questions. Thank you.
Guys, together. Thank you, Osita. All right, thank you very much, Osita. I can bet you that Osita has banking background, not fintech background. Which one is it, sir? Aha. Because the way he was saying it's not your business. Fintech will definitely make it our business, and we may likely be the ones telling you this is how we'll be running it now. Imagine loans without direct debit of remitter. Imagine that kind of thing is what we're saying. So we will definitely make sure that so far you are asking us to come and anywhere you want it to. Thanks for fintech, guys. Okay. Into the Q&A session. If your car, Tiana car FKJ 86W. Hello. Okay, unless you want us to push your car after this, go and turn off your hazard lights so that your battery doesn't go out. Okay, just to let you know, some of you that have seated here for a while now, if you need to use the convenience, just go through that exit and someone will definitely, you see someone, just go left, right. You'll find the place there. Okay, great. Now we want to go into the Q&A and we will do it this way. One question physically and another question online. I've got my guys there. Online audience, please, I beg. If you have your questions, drop it. We'll get someone to read all of them, to us one by one. So we'll take one physically and we'll take one, online. Osita, are you ready? Okay, so you can I guess. Oh, yes, just come on. My God said I should. So, guys, if you have any question, here now, ask. My first question, even me, I have question. My question is, PAPPS, are you ready for fintechs? Because we go flood now. Like, we will come like an army. You see products coming out. Like, from now, you see how many products will come out in the next 6 months. How fast fintech can be. So, the question is, are you ready?
Yes, we are ready, and that's where Papa started. Of course, we feel the complaint from especially from Nigerian market. Is PAPPS ready? They are not ready. I wanted to. They didn't connect. No, we're just trying to clear everything to ensure not that technically we're not ready. Of course, we're ready from day one, as at 2-3 years ago. We're ready. So, but to ensure that from the regulation point of view, everything is okay. You may be aware that we had a session yesterday between the commercial banks and Central Bank. And that session is a session we have been looking for in the last 2 years. So, and it happened yesterday, and so the coast is clear.
All right, thank you very much. So, questions. Is there a third microphone? Oh, don't worry, you guys chill there. Let me just, his hand went up first. Let's just keep the questions brief so that they can answer. So, how do you want it? When they ask you answer, or we aggregate?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
One answer.
Thank you. Emeka Osocha, ZH1 Technologies. So, I see a bottleneck between the fintechs and the bank, because a fintech would need sponsorship from the bank. How easy has that been with you guys? And how can we solve some of those relationship issues that always come up? Thank you.
Okay, you want to go?
Thank you very much. For instance, I'd like to use what has been happening in different places, right? Banks too are in the business of making money. So it is essential that you see them as people that at the end of the day, they want to make money, right? And yes, they might, you might have situations where the fintech, because I know fintech, as a fintech, you are moving very fast. But where we have been, example Ghana, whenever I talk about fintech, because I manage the business development for West Africa, whenever I talk about fintech, they are very, very, very eager. They are saying, bring them on. We are ready to participate with them. And in different, even in Nigeria, we've been going across banks. Whenever they hear about fintechs, they are very, very open. Some of them are saying, give us this contact and we would engage them. So basically, they are very open. It's just you engaging your bank and trying to tell them that this is the place I want to play. And within, from experience, there has never been an issue, basically. But I'll let Osita say something to that.
Quick one.
Yes, we have. Okay, so
quick one. Is it possible to display the banks that are already connected to you, so that
it is also in the
start identifying some of those banks?
It is also in the flyer.
Good.
It's in the flyer.
On the brochure on your seat. So just check out the banks so that
we're also going to send it to you later, so that in case you want to broadcast it to anyone. Okay, so banks are ready, and that's why in the architecture you see that you have no technical touch point with the banks. You understand that? You saw it there. So this is to avoid a situation where I want to connect to you. The APIs are not yet available. We are working on it. Our core banking is this. So technically, they don't play any role in your connectivity to PAPPS, as you saw there. Now, your discussion with the banks are just more of a business discussion. Connect me. if I do transaction, you give me this amount, I deposit this amount. And all the banks, in the last 8 days, we have visited at least 16 banks, and each bank was eager to have a fintech connect to them.
Okay, thank you very much. So I see that the questions are quite many, so we'll try and start grouping. But before we do that, let's take one from the audience, from the online audience.
There are two questions here. One is rather simple to understand. The first one says, what checks and balances exist in PAPPS governance structure? And the second one is simply if you have a mobile app.
Do we have?
A mobile app.
Okay. Yes, our mobile app will be rolled out in the course of the year. Between now and July, we should have a mobile app for everyone in Africa. Once you're on PAPPS, you can use it across. Now, what is the checks and balances? Of course, you saw the structure there. My understanding of checks and balances now is you don't have one person that will take a unilateral decision that will just affect others. Now, if you get involved in the monthly meeting of the central banks that are in PGC, you will see that I've not seen because what works for you as a country does not work for the other country. So until they come to a point where everybody is happy, that is okay before it's approved. But there are many other bodies that you may not see here. There are many other bodies that you may not see that are also looking at the. There are many other bodies that you may not see. No problem. There are many other bodies that you may not see here that are all interested in the activities of PAPPS. And I can tell you that we have more organizations probing into our activities than any organization you can think of.
Check. Black, then the lady in pink.
Okay, thank you very much. Ifnai here from Coral Pay. So 2 questions quickly. The first one is, I see that you talked so much about the central switching and all that. So I want to know, what about other switching companies that not necessarily NIBS? How can we participate and collaborate? The second question is, I didn't see quite clearly what you have on dispute management. So what plans does PAPPS have as regards dispute management? Thank you.
Just hold on.
Okay, thank you. Very nice presentation. My name is Emma. 2 questions. So one is follow up to this question on sponsorship. So basically, first question, what is the relevance of this letter of sponsorship? Because during your presentation as to a fintech funding a transaction and probably there is no money in the account, in the wallet, it sends a rejection letter, and then fintech account is like a sub-account to the sponsorship bank. So if there is no really relevance as to this, we can't go to our sponsorship bank to get money from the wallet, then what is the relevance? So second, respect to fintech and onboarding with it. If there is no really, we can't go to the sponsorship bank to debit from the wallet and then have that kind of arrangement. So what is the relevance of sponsorship with the bank? Secondly, respect to fintech. So we have different categories of fintech in Nigeria, and more of these fintech also have a microfinance bank license that we operate with. And we have this kind of tiering. And one of the non-permissible activities, like non-permissible, is foreign transactions. We are not to do foreign transactions. So how have you collaborated with CBN in such a way that this fintech are not automatically disenfranchised, in such a way that we can all participate with these PAPPS and then we'll be able to use the system together? Thank you.
All right, so you answered these 4, and then because the questions are really pouring in. I hope you got all the questions. So the first one was about switching, apart from CBN, other switches, apart from NIBS, yes.
Okay, I will start with the first one. No problem. Yes, the other switches. Now, like I said, there are countries where we have more than 7 switches. but the central bank wasn't even interested in making any one of them mandatory that transactions should go through. So in such countries, everybody just fill your indirect participant form and get connected. But if we come to a country where the central bank said, okay, let everybody connect. If you are conversant with a Kenyan market, you know that there are many switches in Kenya. You understand? So, but Kenya market said, okay, IPSL, everybody connect through IPSL. Rwanda, the same thing. There are many switches, but they said, okay, everybody R switch. So, but if we come to a country like Gambia, Gambia has GAM switch, but it was not mandatory for any bank to connect through GAM switch. You understand? But there are other switches in Gambia, but all the Gambia banks that are integrated now, we integrated them directly to PAPPS. So it's just when we have that. So in PAPPS, we are open for everybody to connect, but of course you can't go beyond the local regulation in the country. So that is that. Your second question on the dispute resolution. Yes, dispute resolution. Yes, we have a dispute resolution portal. Once you start integration, at the point where we are training you and handing over, you will be handed over, different how you can raise a dispute in PAPPS, how you can also raise tickets. We have a contact center, 247 contact center, so you can make calls anytime and somebody is able to pick it. You can raise a dispute and somebody will get it resolved. So I don't know if that answers the dispute resolution. Now on the banks, somebody asked about sponsorship and limits. And also the fact that some banks do not have the ability or the license to do a foreign transfer. That is again where the indirect sponsorship, why you are called indirect participant. And you saw the model that I showed you where a bank is now sponsoring a bank. You understand? So the indirect sponsorship that you are signing with a commercial bank is that you are the one originating that transaction, but the commercial bank is also taking liability of the transaction you originate. Any commercial bank that said, okay, I will sponsor you, must have reviewed legally that, anything that comes from you, that it will be able to handle that. So that's why, because we have had the same architecture in other countries, so there's no problem with that as far as you and the commercial bank have that agreement. Now, in terms of limits or the amount that, because your money is tied to the clearing account of the commercial bank, now what happens is this. And this is actually the same thing that happens today, really. You as a fintech may have a Naira account in a commercial bank A in Nigeria. Let's say you have 10 million Naira now in your account in that commercial bank. So that commercial bank may say, you know what, we are going to give you even a limit of 20 million in the clearing account because they have been doing business with you. And now, what is going to happen is that during integration, you are given access to a portal wherein online every time you can see the amount remaining in your clearing account. That's as, take for instance, you open the day with 10 million Naira and suddenly your balance is going down to 2 million Naira. Of course, you will get notified, but somebody can also monitor it online every time to say, okay, today our balance is 2 million. Let's call the bank to increase. It's purely a business discussion between you and the bank, but we have made portals available to ensure that transactions do not fail. Somebody is able to see it coming before it fails. At least if you see that your balance is 2 million and you don't sort that out with the commercial bank, definitely to avoid settlement issue, we cannot allow transaction to go beyond the amount that the commercial bank made available.
Okay, let's take one online before we come back here.
First one is, are there setup fees for integration?
Setup fees?
Setup fees for integration, if so, how much? And the second is, Does PAPPS allow inbound transactions from Western countries, or is it just strictly African transactions?
Okay, do you want me to add like a few more down here? Okay, you after just two of you, Mujib, and then we'll go over that way.
So my question is, if you are rolling out your app in July, your mobile app, how do we compete? Because most of the fintechs are also going to use mobile app for this same. So what's the difference between your mobile app and our own mobile app?
Thank you.
Okay, I think you started off asking the question, right? You said a few things about speed and product. Now, for speed, not all fintechs are on the same levels. Would you open up the APIs for fintechs to see before starting the journey? Sometimes some ideas come to you in your sleep and you think you can do it until you see the APIs and what is required for technical integration. So that might help speed. Now, back to the product conversation, right? I know not every country is at the same level when it comes to this product, but we've seen it happen in the past with other initiatives where you are the regulator, you own the infrastructure, then you start competing with me. Now, there's no problem with competition, but what I see happening is now a thing of price wars that are not necessary, right? So the question is, are you a rail or are you a product builder like us? So which is it?
Okay, we'll take these and I'll go over to the other side. Don't worry, I won't forget you. You want to take them now, or I should take a few more? Let's just go on. Yes. No, let them answer first. Do you need a minute to put your thoughts together? We can play video while you are probably ranking how the questions will go, how the answers will go.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much. From the audience online, PAPPS, there's no setup fee when it comes to integration for PAPPS. It is free, 100% free of charge. So when you want to integrate, we would not charge you. And what we want to bring is people coming in. We don't want to discourage anyone from coming in. So no fees whatsoever when it comes to that. So Osita would answer the inbound transactions and some other questions.
Yes, on inbound transaction, PAPPS is Africa to Africa, Africa to the world. So our first objective is to capture Africa to Africa. But may I say that we are currently, we have different MOUs and different integration discussions with major both remittance switches abroad. I won't be able to mention all of them now. And the objective is that in the shortest time that you can send from Africa to outside of Africa and receive from Africa inward, receive from the other inwards into Africa from other countries, and that will happen very soon. On the mobile app, we're rare. Now, the person that asked a mobile, we are rare. Now, but in mobile app, we have seen a lot of things as we do this integration in other African countries where even the skills are not there to do certain things. And people are asking, okay, can we do something for them that they could customize to suit their own needs? You understand? So it's not a mobile app that, PAPPS mobile app is competing with a FinTech A mobile app. No. the ability, and I know you can also play in that space. But it's not something where we are not going to compete with anybody. We're a rare. We are providing a platform for you to play. Yes. On the APIs, of course, we are happy to share APIs with any bank. And let me also say that we have a sandbox that you can go to and check one or two things and revert to us. So you don't really need us sharing an API or anything. So if you need access to that on our website or send us an email, we can direct you to that. So I think I've captured it all.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bayoge. While you're making your presentation, I saw that there are some subtraction context in this from the machine from payments person, payment bank, then from the receiving bank to right. But my question is, of course, we understand that. So I'm thinking particularly for Nigeria now, we're a very peculiar environment. And for me, I am seeing that, okay, it's a good product, but also it comes with some side challenges. We have a few gates to subscribe, right? I'm talking of scammers and the like. So, take for instance now that someone's wallet is hacked, right? Or all these things saying, and that account was debited, right? So, you have any mechanism in place for reports. So that problem, not like Nigeria, when account is hacked, say go to CBN, make reports, and the bank, right? So do you have such in place?
Thank you. So essentially fraud prevention mechanisms. Let's take one more question before the answer.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sunday. I work with Guardian Newspapers. I want to know your plans for Francophone countries in Africa. You mentioned Nigeria, Liberia, and Ghana. These are Anglophone countries. What are your plans for the Francophone, like Togo, Benin Republic, and other French-speaking countries? Thank you.
Hello. Okay, yes. We'll take two people from here, but always introduce yourself, your name and company before your question, so that we will flow.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ania Khan from ETOP Nigeria Limited. For me, basically, it's a concern. There are a whole gamut of conversations between the regulatory body, CBN, and all the fintechs that have started, certain harmonization of licenses, certain things that have to do with changes in terms of how we operate, and we have different levels of licenses at the fintech and all of that. How is PAPPS have this conversation with the CBN, the NIBs, because it is when all of those things are really, really fine-tuned, it is easier for the fintechs to see how they can plug in. The questions that this lady asked and Formula also asked are pointing to that particular aspect of it. We have different operating licenses, we have different product types, but then again, there are a lot of CBN compliance expectations in terms of what we do, how we operate, the FX part of it. So how is that conversation between PAPPS and CBN going? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Eno from Noobs Innovations. I would admit that this is a very huge platform in which so many banks and countries will be interested in playing it. And then you also mentioned that you're looking forward to a time where Africa would have a central currency, where everyone could get to pay money in or make transactions with. But then how about if PAPPS comes up with a cryptocurrency or a digital currency that could integrate all of these African countries? Thereby, instead of waiting for when it would happen, you come up with that. And I think it makes it more open. It makes your company more open to a lot of players. Thank you.
I think we've had enough, as in for now, yes. Or let's just add one more to it, so that you put your thoughts.
Hi, good morning. I'm Abisoye from Marshall Pay. So you mentioned that there would not be a problem with transactions having no value. So now, my question is like, why would there be a portal for dispute resolution if you make mention of that? Why would there be a portal? I need a clarity on you having a portal for dispute resolution. If you mention that transactions, there will not be any problem of transaction with no values. Yeah.
Okay. I think so we'll answer this once now. Is the question clear?
Yes.
Okay.
When we answer it, if it's not clear, then.
Okay, cool.
Okay, on the francophone, Papa is a Frenchman, so.
Okay, thank you, the guardians, for this question. So basically, as we said first at the beginning, whenever we enter a country or when PAPPS is operating in a country, we first of all engage the central bank. And as you know, most of those francophone countries depend on BCAO, the Central Bank of BCAO, and the BIAC, the central bank. So following the launch of PAPPS, we have engaged all the African central bank. Every single central bank, we have engaged them. We have a business development department. On a daily basis, weekly basis, we engage them to get the actual approval, the buying, to allow us to operate. So for the BCR region, for the last, let's say, 2 years, we have been engaging them, okay, to get their go-ahead. We have made very good progress with them, and we believe that by the end of this year, the BCR will join, and we should be able to now allow the countries that we already have on our system to do transaction with the other countries. The good thing is we have received a lot of requests from Nigeria, Ghana, the WAMSI countries to send money to Togo, to Benin, to Cote d'Ivoire, to Senegal. So we know that it's a big corridor, so that's why we are pushing with the Central Bank of BCAO to get their buying to now operate in those markets. We are working on it. It's work in progress. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just start with the portal that you asked for. So the portal is an important factor or regulatory requirement when it comes to having a payment system. So regardless, even if you build your technology that such shouldn't happen, it is required that you have it according to regulation. So you should be worried when you have a payment system and you don't have such portals. How about if something happens and I have to complain and such portals are not available? So it's regulatory also to make sure that people are heard, because it's very, very important when you are dealing with people and transactions, so that people are heard. It is like Osita said, it is literally impossible to send money to the wrong account, right? Because validation takes place. But you can have a situation where I've sent money, right? And I say, at the end of the day, the beneficiary, I went to send it in another medium also. Do you understand? I send it through my app here, then I go and send it in another place. Such places, and maybe the beneficiary doesn't want to refund at that point. So you have to have another place to be heard, right? So basically, that's why we have such portals in place. I hope I clarified the question. Okay. Digital. Okay.
Okay, please, on the portal, take note of this in case while we are here, and that's why you saw that fintech also plays in our space in the governing council, one of the arms there. We are open for what you think is the best. So if we live here and you want to contact us to make recommendations that you think is better than the portal, please feel free. Any way to report fraud. First of all is, how do we even prevent fraud from happening? Of course, we show you how digital certificates are being exchanged from point A to point B. And I also re-emphasized that when I was showing the flow the customer journey. Now, if for any reason you initiate a transaction and it gets intercepted, first and foremost is establishing the point where it got intercepted. Did it pass from you to NIPS? Did it get to NIPS at all? Or did it pass NIPS to the other person? That will help us know who is liable or where to even start investigating. But are we going to report that? Of course, we'll have to report that. We have regulators for information also. Central Bank also has access to our portal. They actually see what we also do online real time. Now, plan for Francophone has been answered. CBN regulatory approvals for different categories of fintechs. What I would suggest is this: let us first embark on this journey, which is banks come forward, let's fintechs come forward, and let's even apply and receive feedback from CBN. Do we have other discussion with CBN how to make fintech integration easier for the fintech? Yes, we do. It's an ongoing discussion, and Papa told you that was why it took us up to this level to now have this session. We have had this session in some countries as far back as last year. So that is that. So I would suggest that first let us apply, and we will be part of the journey as you do the application with the regulators. Then on the crypto, actually we have systems built for that. We have systems built for that when it to exchange, and I also stated that we are working on other projects around exchange rates. But again, we don't do anything, or we don't push out anything, release a product out there without getting regulatory approval. So we have systems, crypto-based, that are able to do all that. But until we get all the green lights before we can put it out. Thank you.
Okay, before we take the last set of questions, just some information. And this information for the physical audience here. Online audience, sorry. So we have something sumptuous for you. So there's going to be, a meal, after the question and answer section. And then, but before that, we would have a photo section where we have the industry heavyweights. We'll do it. We'll try and categorize it, and then we also want all of you to also participate in that. Finally, we are going to take the last set of questions now. So just no random order. I've covered this side. Anyone, any other one from here? Okay. So we'll take that, and then we would round up. I hope you've not stressed you so much. No. Okay, great.
Okay. My name is Klinsman, Fetch Wallet. I was maniacally bewildered and taken aback when you spoke about the concept behind this, which is to have a little shift away from the other currencies of the world. And when I heard it, I was flabbergasted. So, what determines your exchange rate for between one African currency and the other? I would be interested to know that, because you mentioned the hard currency as well. Thank you.
Okay, just a quick one. That will be the last question. Okay, for our online audience, let me stay so that you can see. Okay, for our online audience, please, we will take a picture of you. So, Tim, just try and take a picture of the audience. Would you want them to turn on their videos? Okay, so please, online audience, it would be good you turn on your video now so that we can just have like a snapshot, a screenshot from here. We'd like to have your faces showing. I should say what I'm saying. Okay, good. So please, online, those joining online, just turn on your videos, and our team here on ground will take that the picture. So, please.
Okay, on exchange rate, each commercial bank will set a rate, sir. Now, a commercial bank will set what we call selling rate and buying rate. Now, selling rate determines the rate for all outflow from a country, outflow, while buying rate determines the rate for all inflow into the country. So if I'm sending from Bank A to Bank B in Ghana, you understand? So it will take the selling rate of Bank A in Nigeria and land with the buying rate of Bank B in Ghana, and vice versa. So the selling rate determines outflow, the buying rate determines inflow.
Just to add to it, you can have different, because of that, you can have different rates per bank, right? Because of that. So it's more of willing buyer, willing seller. So you can have different rates, just to add that to it. Thank you. Online?
Do we have any other questions online? Okay, let's take the online ones.
Okay, we have a number of questions online. In fact, it's very difficult to decide on which one to ask, but let me just go with the last one because it's like 4 questions in one, and it is from Renee Ngamao. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I'm not even sure how this question started. Okay. For the businesses that will be the ultimate users, what is the base currency of intra-African currency FX? 2, how do you ensure competitiveness to entice businesses away from other existing formal or informal options? 3, do you have or intend to have daily currency transfer limits? And finally, how does this integrate to external, i.e. non-African markets? For example, transactions with other markets. So the last question is, how does this integrate to external, that is non-Africa markets, example for transactions with other markets? Thank you.
Okay, base currency, we mentioned in the beginning that USD sits in the middle just to determine as a benchmark. You understand? Reason being that we don't have, currencies are not currencies, at least for now. So, and because of that, to cushion the effects of that, that's why we use multilateral net settlement, meaning your outflow versus your inflow is only the difference that you settle. On the informal, how do I attract the informal market? It depends again on the regulation in different countries. We have countries where the banks have gone all out there to go and, I'll just give a typical example of Sierra Leone, where, a lot of people that sell in the open market buy from Nigeria. They buy from Lagos, pharmaceuticals, computer, think of anything. They buy from Nigeria. Those are informal market. What do they do before? They take the money to ABC or cross the border with it and the rest of them, or any other undocumented way. How do we attract them? In those countries also, they have something like, people unregistered brew the change, where they will say, okay, give me this amount in leons and I'll give you this equivalent in naira. I'll credit a customer for you. And they do it. How do we attract them? When they see that it's cheaper for them in PAPPS, they will come. When they know that it's more secured for them in PAPPS, they will come. So we already, we are having those engagements and we are having them onboarding them to use PAPPS in those countries. Now, so if we come to Nigeria, of course, regulation is different in different places, and we have to abide by whatever thing that works in each environment. But we are working with regulators also just to ensure that they make it easy for everybody to use the platform. Transfer limit. does PAPPS have a functionality, a feature to limit how much you transfer? The answer is yes. Technically, that is the easiest thing anybody can do. But do we enforce it? We have to leave what works for each country. Because you may have a transfer limit in Nigeria, but you don't have transfer limit in Sierra Leone. You don't have transfer limit in Liberia. So we give you PAPPS as a tool. It's a full option. If you are in Nigeria, use the AC. If you are in Canada, use the heater. Yes, that is PAPPS. So the last question there, how do we integrate? We have already talked about that. We have a lot of engagements with non-African switches. There are many of them. And very soon you will start hearing from us as those things we integrate and roll out those products. Thanks.
Let's put our hands together for SITA team. Do it like you enjoyed the session. Come on. Thank you very much. That will be all. So yes, thank you very much. Okay, just to run you through what is left of today's event, the next session would be a photo section, after which, so we'll go out there to this door, we come back in here, Now, while the photo session is going on, please get to know someone here. All right? Just get to know someone. I don't know, has the online one been taken? Okay, great. So for the photos, this is how it's going to go. The first session would be FinTech NGR trustees and the PAPPS team. You will have the photos outside, and then immediately following that will be the same set of people, plus Dr. John Obaro, Mr. Deremi Atonda, and Mr. Demola Balajobi. Yes, then there's those set of people again in number 2, together with from FinTech NGR, Ladi Asunu, and Lola Ekugo. And then the last session would be all of us, the rest of us in batches. We'll just, do it. We'll try and do it as easily as possible. Now, before we go, while we arrange ourselves for the photo section, there is something we've got for you. Share with audio.
And in an instant, our wait is over. For too long, we have waited for hours to convert currencies, days to clear checks, and decades to reach our potential. But now, we can access the power of African free trade in an instant with PAPPS, the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. Great ambition deserves the best security, revolutionary tech, and with PAPPS, physical distance won't stop you being where it counts. Pay staff in one time zone, trade stocks in another, send money to family, or go shopping at home. Overcome barriers, reduce risk, trade in local currencies, and connect with single market united across Africa. PAPPS gives you more time to build relationships that grow across borders. The wait is over. Be a part of Africa's flourishing free trade today.
PAPPS. Hello. 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 Okay. So we just received word from the organizers that the sun is actually very hot, and we would no longer snap outside. We would have to do it in here. So we would do the photo section in here, right? Yes, please. You guys should not. What are you guys doing outside, inside, outside, inside? Let's have the first sessions of the photo shoot here, and then, all right? Okay. So outside, right? Okay, good. So we'll make it as quickly as possible. So the first set of people, please, let's. Okay. Hold on. So sorry. Please, 1 second. Just 1 second. I'm so sorry. We're just trying to quickly adjust something. the fintech NGR is going to give us a remark, like a response to PAPPS. This is PAPPS Roadshow. Like you've told us how we can collaborate. I think a representative of the fintech community should be able to say, oh, okay, this looks like a good idea. Let's put our hands together for my boss, Mr. Deremi Atonda.
I don't know about that. Good afternoon. It's really been an awesome experience here today. And I just want us to give ourselves a warm round of applause. It's just great. And I want to say thank you to PAPPS, because the fintech community was beginning to think that it had no stake in PAPPS. And with this, you had done the roadshow. And on behalf of the fintech community in Nigeria, on the platform of Fintech Nigeria, Fintech 1000, and other fintech stakeholders, thank you, our board of trustees, the visionaries, who are here represented. Thanks to members of the industry, the CEOs, especially those joining online. There are quite a number of events happening today, and to have about 300 people participating in this, that shows how much we're interested in what's going on. Last words. The fintech community in Nigeria expects that PAPPS will take Africa to go. And you have that firm assurance from our industry that we're ready for more engagement and feedback. And just like that, we're ready to go with you. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy your afternoon.
All right, thank you very much, sir. So we would go out for the photo session now. And then when we come back, you just grab a small package network before you go. From all of us here, thank you very much. It's good to have you. What?